I gripped the steering wheel tightly as I drove aimlessly through the city streets, my mind replaying the scene over and over. Kayla, the woman I had devoted nearly a decade of my life to, tangled in another man's arms, lost in passion that should have been mine. The image burned itself into my memory, searing through every ounce of love I once held for her. The betrayal felt unreal, like a cruel nightmare I couldn't wake up from. Rain pelted against the windshield, mirroring the storm raging inside me. My fingers trembled as I pulled into an empty parking lot, killing the engine. I needed air. I needed to think. I leaned my head back against the seat, exhaling sharply. What now? Confronting her immediately would be useless. She'd lie, twist the truth, play the victim. Kayla was always good at turning situations in her favor. No, if I wanted justice, I had to be smarter, stronger. I had to make sure she felt every ounce of pain she had inflicted on me. Reaching into my pocket, I pulled out my phone and scrolled through our messages. Just last week, she had sent a text saying she loved me, that she missed me, that she couldn't wait to spend the rest of her life with me. The hypocrisy made me sick. With gritted teeth, I tapped on her name and typed a message. Me. Hey babe, just finished work early. Thinking of surprising you. Where are you? I stared at the screen, watching the three little dots appear. Kayla. Aw, you're so sweet. I'm just grabbing a drink with Emily. Girls' night. Lies. Emily, her best friend, was currently on vacation in another state. I knew that because I had seen her latest Instagram post an hour ago. Kayla didn't even bother to craft a convincing excuse. That hurt more than anything. She thought so little of me that she didn't even try to hide it well. My fingers hovered over the keyboard, but I stopped myself. Arguing wouldn't change anything. My blood boiled, but I forced myself to remain calm. She was in a hotel right now, wrapped around another man, and she had the audacity to text me like everything was fine. A sickening idea began to form. I could turn this pain into something powerful, something she wouldn't see coming. Kayla thought she was untouchable. She thought she had outsmarted me. She was wrong. Very, very wrong. The morning after Kayla's deception unfolded, I awoke with a clarity I hadn't felt in years. Rage had turned into something colder, something sharper. Emotion wouldn't drive my actions. Logic would. I would destroy her, not in the heat of passion, but with careful, calculated precision. I spent the next few days playing the role of the oblivious husband, maintaining a smile when she kissed me goodbye, pretending not to notice when she stepped away to answer suspicious phone calls. At night, as she lay beside me, unaware of the storm brewing in my mind, I planned every move. Step 1. Find out everything. Hiring a private investigator was simple. A well-connected friend recommended someone discreet, someone who specialized in uncovering infidelity. Within hours, I had a meeting scheduled with a man named Marcus. The coffee shop where we met was quiet, the kind of place where secrets exchanged hands over bitter espresso. Marcus was direct, efficient, and most importantly, ruthless in his methods. She's careless, he said, flipping through photos taken just in the past 24 hours. The guy she's seeing is Damon Steele. You've probably heard of him. I clenched my jaw. Of course I had. Damon was a high-profile corporate attorney with a reputation for dirty dealings. Wealthy, influential, and dangerous. The fact that Kayla had fallen into his bed only fueled my resolve. She's meeting him regularly at a penthouse he rents downtown, Marcus continued. They think they're untouchable. They're not. A slow, satisfied smirk tugged at the corner of my mouth. Good, I murmured. I want every detail, every transaction, every shady business deal he's involved in. I don't just want to expose their affair. I want to rip their entire world apart. Marcus nodded. Consider it done. Over the next 2 weeks, I gathered every piece of evidence I needed. Text messages, call logs, bank statements. It wasn't just about Kayla's infidelity anymore. It was about something bigger. Damon had skeletons in his closet, and I was about to drag them all into the light. But first, I needed the perfect moment to strike. So I laid my trap. Kayla had been distant lately, but when I surprised her with the idea of a weekend getaway, a rekindling of our romance, she played right into my hands. "Oh, babe, that sounds amazing," she gushed, forcing enthusiasm into her voice. "But work is so hectic right now. Maybe we can plan something next month." I smiled, pretending to be disappointed. "I already booked the flights." She hesitated. "You did?" I nodded, watching as panic flickered in her eyes. She needed an excuse, an escape. I gave her one. "If you can't make it, I totally understand. I'll go alone," I said with a sigh. "Maybe clear my head a little." Relief washed over her face so quickly she didn't even try to hide it. "You deserve that," she cooed, pressing a kiss to my cheek. "We'll do something special when you get back, okay?" I almost laughed. That night, she waited until she thought I was asleep before slipping out of bed and texting Damon. "Kayla, crisis averted. He's going on a trip alone. I'll be all yours this weekend." I read the message in silence, feeling nothing but satisfaction. Perfect. The pieces were in place. And by the time the weekend was over, Kayla would never see the outside of a prison cell again. Kayla thought she had won. She believed she had dodged a bullet, slipping free from suspicion with the ease of a seasoned liar. But she had no idea that every step she took was leading her directly into the trap I had set. The morning of my supposed flight, I kissed her goodbye at the door, rolling my suitcase behind me as I walked to my car. She stood on the porch, watching me with feigned concern, likely counting down the minutes until she could rush into Damon's arms. I didn't drive to the airport. Instead, I parked a few blocks away from our house and waited. 15 minutes later, Kayla's car pulled out of the driveway. She didn't even hesitate. No second thoughts. No guilt. Just a woman eager to betray her husband the moment his back was turned. I followed at a distance, my heart beat steady, my hands firm on the wheel. She drove straight to the penthouse, the one Damon Steele used for his illicit affairs. Through the large glass windows, I could see them embracing before disappearing into the bedroom. It would be the last time she walked into that suite as a free woman. I pulled out my phone and dialed the number that would set everything in motion. "Are we ready?" I asked. On the other end, Marcus responded, his voice sharp and assured. "Everything's in place. The authorities have the evidence. They'll move in within the hour." I hung up without another word and stepped out of my car. Across the street, in an unmarked van, a team of federal agents sat in silent anticipation. Cameras were positioned throughout the penthouse, footage obtained through weeks of surveillance. They didn't just have proof of the affair. They had proof of the fraudulent financial transactions, the money laundering, the offshore accounts linked to Damon, and by extension to Kayla. She had no idea she was about to go down with him. I leaned against the hood of my car, watching as the seconds ticked by. Then the flashing lights came, the screech of tires, the pounding on the door. I didn't need to see inside to know what was happening. Damon would be scrambling, shouting about his rights, demanding lawyers. Kayla would be frozen in terror, her mind struggling to piece together the nightmare unfolding around her. Then came the moment I had been waiting for. The front door burst open, and two officers dragged Damon out first, his face contorted in rage. He shouted, cursed, but no one cared. The case against him was airtight. His career was over, his freedom gone. And then, Kayla, handcuffed, disheveled, eyes wide with disbelief. She struggled against the officers, shaking her head, her voice rising in desperation. "No, no, this has to be a mistake. I didn't do anything." The moment her gaze locked onto mine, realization struck her like a blow to the stomach. She knew. I took a step forward, just enough for her to see the cold satisfaction in my eyes. "You," she whispered, barely audible over the commotion. "Ryan, please, tell them. Tell them I had nothing to do with this." I tilted my head, feigning curiosity. "Had nothing to do with what, Kayla?" Her face drained of color. The officers shoved her toward the squad car, but she fought against them, screaming now. "Ryan, please, you don't understand. I didn't—" The door slammed shut, cutting her off. I slipped my hands into my pockets and let a slow, triumphant smile spread across my lips. Kayla Calloway, my cheating wife, was behind bars, and I was just getting started. The courtroom buzzed with murmurs as Kayla was led inside, wrists shackled, face pale. She wasn't the confident, deceptive woman I once knew. This version of her was broken, eyes darting desperately, seeking an escape that didn't exist. I sat near the front, watching with cold detachment as she scanned the crowd. When her gaze met mine, I expected anger. Instead, I saw something pitiful, pleading, regret, fear. Good. She finally understood. The trial had moved quickly. The evidence Marcus gathered had been undeniable. Damon's empire of corruption had collapsed, dragging Kayla down with it. Her name was all over the fraudulent accounts. Every luxurious gift he had given her, every dollar deposited into secret funds, had been traced. Whether she had actively participated or not didn't matter. She had benefited, and in the eyes of the law, that was enough. Her defense attorney tried to argue ignorance, claiming she had been manipulated, deceived. But the prosecution ripped her apart. The messages between her and Damon revealed more than just an affair. They showed complicity, greed, an eagerness to indulge in a life of stolen wealth while I remained the fool at home. As the judge prepared to deliver the sentence, I leaned back, satisfied. "Kayla Calloway," the judge's voice rang through the silent courtroom, "for your role in aiding and abetting financial fraud, obstruction of justice, and conspiracy to commit fraud, you are sentenced to 7 years in federal prison." A strangled cry escaped her lips. "No, please, I didn't—" The gavel slammed down. It was over. She turned toward me, eyes filled with desperation. "Ryan, please, you know me. You know I wouldn't—" I stood, buttoned my jacket, and stepped closer. "I knew you," I said, my voice calm, measured. "But I don't know this woman." Tears streaked her face. "Please, I love you." I chuckled softly. "You loved what I gave you, and now you have nothing." The bailiff pulled her back, escorting her out of the courtroom as she screamed my name. I walked out into the fresh air, breathing in deeply. It was over. The woman who had betrayed me, the man who had stolen from countless victims, they were both where they belonged, locked away, paying for their sins. Freedom tasted sweeter than I had imagined. A few weeks later, I finalized the divorce. The house, the savings, the cars, everything she once held dear was gone. I donated what remained of her luxury items to charity, ensuring she had nothing left to return to. As I sipped coffee on my new apartment balcony, overlooking the city, my phone buzzed. A message from Marcus. "Marcus, thought you'd want to know. Kayla's still asking about you. Seems she's having a hard time adjusting behind bars." I smirked. "Me. She should get used to it." "That's home now." Sliding my phone away, I exhaled, feeling lighter than I had in years. Revenge wasn't just about justice, it was about taking back control, and I had won.